Hi, Paul. Can you hear me?
Isabella, let's try now. Isabella, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. I hear you.
Okay, I can't hear you at the moment. Isabella?
Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Fantastic.
Good.
We're all
Then
set.
I'll have to keep the mic next to my mouth.
Oh, we're all set. So, happy International Translation Day, first of all.
Happy International Translation Day.
Brilliant. Well, a great presentation.
We have a saint patron, you know. San
Absolutely.
Girolamo.
Absolutely. Yes. Wow, it's a wonderful.
I think he translated the Bible from the original Hebrew version. I read somewhere.
Very good. Well, yeah, it's a great day, worth celebrating, and we're so happy to be here celebrating. And great presentation as well. A new topic, a different topic. I really enjoyed it, and we've got some good questions in. So let's jump in, Isabella. The first question is, how do you approach YouTubers for translation of their videos?
I can only base my answer on what I do with traditional authors. You just do what you would normally do with a direct client or an agency. You reach out to them. You choose whether by email or a direct message on social media. I think the difference in your pitch will be made by how competent you show in your message in their category, in the industry. So before offering my services as a literary translator to authors, I had been a reviewer of on NetGalley for the books of the categories I offered myself as a translator. So I knew what I was talking about, both in English and Italian, in my native language. And that helped because it's a sort of jargon. So it's every genre, every crime fiction is not different in terms of how you have to deal with the specific terms with respect to technical translations. So if you have specific terms in a patent, you will have specific terms in a crime investigation, and you have to translate them how they are normally translated, how the readership in the target language expect them to translate them.
Okay, excellent. Well, let's move on to another question specifically, or get into more specifically about authors. So we have a question from Simona who asks, how do you approach authors? Do you translate a chapter of their books before you get in touch with them, or what is your process?
I do not need to offer sample translations now. I did in the beginning, but after I think I have about 20 books out there. People just trust the reviews saying that my translations are good.
But what
so
would you
do? I do not get asked for samples. But of course, I did a sample translation a few months ago. I think it was worth it in that case. So I did not deny the author who wanted to test me. But in general, I do not even get asked for sample translations because the reviews speak for themselves.
Excellent. Well, you obviously built up that reputation over a number of years, Isabella. I'm just wondering, for someone starting out, so translators often have a sort of situation when it comes to sample translation work and sample translations. We often hear things like you shouldn't translate more than 200 words or 300 words, which makes a lot of sense in certain cases. I'm imagining when it comes to book translation, that does need to be different. I'm not sure that you would be able to convince an author based on a 200-word sample translation. What would you suggest? I mean, if you can take yourself back.
I think that it would be difficult, but it's still not out of the question. The sample test that I was asked to perform a few months ago was a bit longer, something like 450 words.
Okay.
But also understand that it will take you about an hour to perform that test. So they understand that you are investing your time. And if they are respectful people, they will understand that they cannot really ask for more on a free basis.
Yeah.
I mean, if they are ready to pay for an entire chapter, they're welcome to it. But otherwise, they are, they understand that we're both out there to make the most of our time.
Okay, excellent. Next question is as follows. What are the legal requirements to publish the translations of the works of American contemporary authors in Europe? I'm based in Germany. Thank you.
Well, in my case, my contract is based on the Italian law, which is very similar to the French and the German law as far as translations go, which is confirmed by the Berner Convention. So I hand over my copyrights of translators. I have a separate copyrights in my country and in Germany and France too, as far as I'm aware. So I hand over my copyrights to the author, and then the author can publish them anywhere as far as the contract goes. So in my case, I give up my copyrights for a certain time in terms of ebooks, print books, audibles, and that's about it. If they are so lucky as to meet the interest of a Hollywood producer who would like to use my part of my translations for the dialogues, for example, they will have to subscribe a separate contract. Otherwise, they can have another translator translate the script.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, we've got another question now, which is, I mean, you included that great feedback from the author within your presentation. I thought that was really good, and it's clearly a relationship that is working. And well, the question relates to your income, and I definitely don't want you to give any numbers or anything like that. I don't think that's appropriate. But I think, but the question's there, and I would like to get your opinion on this, because I think you're probably very happy with the situation. So how does it work in terms of making a living translating books? Not only, and I'd ask you, and I would personally add to this question, not only in terms of the rate that you might be able to get, but also in the having that block of work compared to, let's say, taking on lots of smaller jobs. So how does that work for you, Isabella, in general terms?
Well, as far as the income is concerned, it really depends on the country, on your target language. And on how many ebooks sell in your country. So, for example, in Italy, we have seen that we went from 5.3% of all book sales to 7.4%, which is a 50% increase, but it's still far way behind with respect to what happens in the USA.
Yeah.
And so my rates are a trade-off between what I need for a living and what the author needs to make it sustainable, because if it must pay off, as just said. So I partly make a living it's a trade-off. I hope that it will get better. The more ebooks are sold, so the more the digital revolution goes on. But I suppose a German translator would be better off. And I suppose actually an American translator translating from Italian or German into English would be far better off. Because if 25% of all book sales in the USA are ebooks, there's a larger market there. There's a larger competition too. So they must be prepared to, face that negative side. But it really is a trade-off. I don't work for peanuts, but I do not charge excessively either. And in terms of workload, I am now almost fully booked until at least April next year.
Wow.
Just to give you an idea. And I can still slip in a few smaller jobs.
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting. I think it's not just, I think as every translator knows, it's not just about the rate. It's about how you can have that constant work. So yeah, very, very good. Good for you. Excellent. One final question. I think this is from Samira. And the question is as follows. You are paid as a percentage of the sales of the translated books or a fixed amount upfront before the books are released?
A fixed amount
upfront.
A fixed amount. I started out with BubbleCube. You mentioned what do you do when you start out? That's a very good question because I needed to start out again after years of working as a marketing manager. Things in my life have changed, so I needed to reconvert my competences, and I went back to translations. And to make myself believable to the market, I started out from the bottom. I call BubbleCube the bottom because it was a good idea in the beginning, but they handle it very, very badly. Authors and translators are leaving the platform. And in that, and I was paid on in a percentage there, which was not quite as good as I hoped, because they, for example, distributed the book equally on all platforms, whereas ebook stores work differently in different countries. For example, in Germany, Tolino makes about 50% of all book sales. In Italy, Tolino is non-existent. So you need to be country specific when you publish a book, and they don't do it. They don't even answer emails lately. So it's difficult to work like that. I had 2 Christmas novels, for example, that I had I also had approved in September, and they published them at the end of January. They were Christmas novels. Of course, the sales were lost, and we were both very unhappy with this outcome. So no, I do not see being paid on percentage as something negative, at least partially.
Yeah.
There are contracts out there that do take into consideration a fixed amount that will be integrated by percentages, by royalties. So it's not something devilish to speak of.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would be careful before doing it only on a percentage basis, unless you have control of all the chain, which you can't.
Yeah. Okay, no, brilliant. So I think, understand the country specifics, understand the market before committing yourself. Brilliant, Isabella. Well, thank you so much for your excellent presentation. Thank you for coming on to the live Q&A. Thank you for celebrating International Translation Day with us. Thank you so much, and and all the very best. Thank you.
See you.
Isabella.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.